Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Tues Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes you the person whose birthday it is, and that is me. That's right, finally, my birthday and Choose Your Own Adventure coincide into a glorious egg-shaped mountain of magnificence. I am so happy to be alive, and now I'm 35. Anyway, back on track, and this week we have none other to thank than Jacob Drolet for their rather droll suggestion of video game magic weapons and spells that are stupidly overpowered. But here's the thing, I've done my YouTube tinkering and done the inverse of this, for it is my birthday magical wish to make a list that maybe tracks fairly well, and I've decided to go for video game spells that absolutely suck. And I know this seems like a crossover between these things suck, but trust me, those worlds are not colliding today. Magic, the upturning of natural law in order to achieve something beyond our wildest dreams. It's been the desire of humanity since time immemorial to master the elements or to achieve feats rendered impossible by science and logic. Yet thanks to those very same things, it's always just been out of reach in the real world. Yet video games, well, they don't play by those rules, son, and so have carte blanche to mess with space, time, and the universe at large in order to give players access to spells that range from deadly to deliciously useful. But as you might expect, not all video game spells are created equal, and for every amazing fireball rainstorm that you can pour down onto your foes, you've got a raging skip fire that is, for lack of better words, absolutely terrible. And that's what we're looking at today. Hooray! As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are video game spells that absolutely suck. Number 7. Seal All, Chrono Cross. Now, very rare is it for the almighty Chrono Cross to make it onto any list containing worst in the title, but even gods can stumble from time to time, and when it came to the Seal All spell, Chrono Cross, well, it definitely had a tumble that made Professor Nakayama's staircase descent look bloody graceful. In Chrono Cross, each class is given a specific colour called an innate, which imparts both elemental resistances and weaknesses depending on what other colours are used against them in battle. For example, a character class with an innate white focus will be weak to black magic, and so on. Therefore, you're going to want to use spells that enemies are weak to in order to maximize damage, and it's here that this Seal All spell raises its weirdly shaped head and points to itself with a malicious smile. Because this spell, on paper at least, is awesome, because what it does is it shuts off all elemental effects on the battlefield, reducing the damage output of your opponents by blocking access to their most powerful spells and giving you time to either regroup your party or push forward with physical damage. Which sounds great, right? Well, in practice, you'll find pretty much little use for Seal All, because most regular enemies are way too weak to bother even using this on, and all bosses are immune to Seal All. And you know what the worst thing is? Is that Seal All affects everything on the battlefield, including your own party, which means you've likely gone up to a boss and just gone, oh, I've got the perfect trick for shutting you down, my friend. You use that, and you're the only one suffering for it. Sick! Thus, we are left with a spell that can actually shut down all of your offensive abilities whilst leaving a boss free to wail on you with their own arsenal. Just do me a favour and stick with the Diminish spell instead. For the love of God, never use Seal All. Number 6. Magic Barrier, Quest 64. Now, if your game is centred solely around magic and the casting of said magic, you better make bloody well sure that the magic system behind it is actually good. Well, the arcane backbone of Quest 64 is very much like Batman's spine in the hands of Bane. Well, and truly broken. Except here in a twist that would have M. Night Shyamalan spinning, the roles of Batman and Bane are both played by Quest 64, because this game very much broke itself. Say hello to the Magic Barrier spell, which, as you might guess from its name, launches 15 nuclear warheads every second for 30 seconds! I'm kidding, of course. It makes you completely immune to all magic. But somehow, that is even more powerful. And I say this because every single enemy in the game attacks with magic. That's right, you've just broken the game by mitigating all damage that enemies can dish out with just one spell. This alone is why Magic Barrier makes this list of the worst spells ever, because it just ruins all the enjoyment of the title, and because you would be a fool to use anything else, it pigeonholes every player into running the same loadout and playstyle. Boo. Number 5. Blind. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Now, as an older player, it was always very funny to me to see the younglings playing Skyrim and saying stuff like, "Oh, this weapon is broken, this item is broken, my dad is a computer, and also this gameplay experience is broken." And it was so particularly funny because these phrases actually are the broken record of Elder Scroll games in general. As let me tell you a little secret, my friend, they're all cobbled together with duct tape. Every single game in this franchise can be cracked open like a coconut with barely any effort, and the results range from hilarious to utterly infuriating. Now, if we're being honest, there are a lot of issues with Morrowind's magic system, especially when potions come into play. With the right concoction of slurpy go-go soup, you'll be able to fly above the land with ease, or zip along the floor at breakneck speed, or, I don't know, just unleash an entire torrent of fireballs that literally no enemy can stand up to. What makes this even more hilarious is when you come across a spell that even with all the right tools, you simply cannot make work. Enter the blind spell, which, as you might rightly think, causes you to lose your sight temporarily, shown to the player by the screen getting darker. However, if you thought that this might be useful against enemies to, say, sneak past them or impede their accuracy, well, you'll be eating some, well, I guess that sucks cheesecake, as the NPCs in this game are not affected by this spell in the slightest. Brilliant. Cool. Ironically, I guess we should have seen that coming. Aha. Number 4. Life. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Now, if I'm being honest, there is a lot to hate about Mystic Quest. For starters, the game's very existence comes from Square Enix believing that players outside of Japan wouldn't like the Final Fantasy series due to its difficulty, and so decided to make a title that was, in essence, offensively easy. Now, this is a game that, for all intents and purposes, plays itself, and even comes with an auto-party system where this is quite literally the case. The story feels ripped off from a discount children's book, the characters have about as much depth as a puddle of piss, and this then goes on to soak the game in absolute stank. And to top all of this, the game wasn't even programmed very well, with one of the quintessential healing spells in the series becoming one of the most deadly weapons at your disposal. Now, we all know that the life spell in Final Fantasy games have always been the bugbear of undead creatures, even going so far as to utterly embarrass any undead boss that you come across with an instant kill. But Mystic Quest encountered an error during production where life gained the inverse properties and didn't affect undead creatures at all. Oh well, you probably thought to yourself, no harm, no foul, I can still kill these undead creatures in other ways, except much harm, much foul, my friend, because instead of affecting undead enemies, it now affects every other enemy in the game. So if you cast life on anything that is living, it will die in one hit. Seriously, Mystic Quest, how could you mess this up this badly? At least the bug was fixed for European releases, but still, boo, bad spell, bad. Number 3, Bind, Eternal Darkness. Now, there's some sort of Machiavellian glee to be had when games let you use spells or abilities to turn enemies on one another. Dropping a confusion bomb in the midst of a group of foes and then busting out the deck chair to watch Henchman Royal Rumble 2003 sure is a laugh, but thanks to some misunderstanding of the very game that it was being used in, Eternal Darkness feels more like watching two geriatrics have a mildly heated debate about parking spaces, in that it's still pretty engaging enough to maybe stop and watch, but it is painfully slow, and at no point is anyone going to bust out a pair of brass knuckles or a switchblade. The Bind spell in Eternal Darkness allows the wielder to turn enemies on one another for a limited time, and considering the game's survival horror slant, that sounds like an incredibly useful tool to keep in the back pocket. However, because the enemies in question often move at the speed of tidal erosion, you're either left with enemies who don't manage to hit each other in time, or simply lumber after one another like it's the first ever Olympic sprint sponsored by ketamine. I know that Eternal Darkness loves messing with people, but please, come on, give us a break. Number 2, the Miracle Capsule, Mario Party 5. Seriously, what sort of sadists are there over in Nintendo that make the Mario Party games? Ever since its inception, the franchise has sold itself on bringing together friends for a night of light-hearted fun, but as anyone who's played even a single round of these games can tell you, this is the worst and quickest way to end friendships, even with those who have been in your stable for decades. Arguments over mini-games, hurt feelings over using items to screw others over, and of course, course, the laser death stare that you will definitely feel on your face that comes from stealing stars from your friends, well, that is something else. Well, I'll tell you, the Battle Royale film had nothing on these games. And to act as the killing blow to any potential Christmas card list comes the Miracle Capsule from Mario Party 5, which acts as a spell of such epic devastation that it not only ruins friendships, but doesn't even bloody work 9 times out of 10. And yes, I am counting this as a spell because it has miracle in the title, and I mean, look at it, it's filled with stars, which, as everyone knows, are just pure magic. And now the gimmick here is that by collecting 3 Miracle Capsules, the person in last place will be able to steal all of the stars from the person in first place. Yet even this simple explanation is filled with head-scratching decisions. Is it worth taking up all 3 of your item slots to go for the Miracle Capsules? What if you don't get enough in time? What if you're not in last place? Because that only works for the person in last place. What's the point of it then? It is a spell of confusion, disappointment, regret of time wasted, and just a whole heaping of double sad. And number 1, Invisibility, Starbound. Now, as fun as it might seem to research lists like this, very few times am I left rolling on the floor in fits of laughter. However, when it came across the invisibility spell or ability from Starbound, I made a noise that was kind of hard to describe. It was like one nostril sounded like a squealing pig, and the other nostril sounded like it was inhaling all of the air in the world ever. I cannot replicate this, but trust me, it was a good one. And what caused this monstrous nasal cacophony? Well, the fact that the invisibility spell is absolutely pathetic. Now, to be fair to the game, this is an effect that was actually removed from the title before launch. However, players found the unused ability and modded it back into the game, unlocking its hilariously naff effects in the process. Now, the one job of an ability with the name Invisibility should surely be to mask the user from others, be they monster or other players, right? Well, at first you might think that things are going smoothly as you do disappear from the environment and can now roam around chuckling to yourself that you're the new Solid Snake. However, there is one glaring oversight, and that is hanging over your head, and that is the fact that your name bar doesn't disappear from the environment nor other players. Brilliant! Also, the effect lasts about 5 seconds, so people are definitely going to see your very red face when they suddenly pop back into existence, just going, yep, I don't know what I was expecting to work there. Oh yeah, I was expecting it to work. And there we go, my friends. Those were overpowered video game spells that actually totally suck. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as your suggestions for next week's episodes as well. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on the social medias at Twitter at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, or Instagram, where it's the same handle, and you can follow James Dowes over here at James Dowes E with the extra E. You gotta love him for that. But before I go, I just want to say one thing, because there is a spell that we can all cast on ourselves every single day, and that is the spell of just being bloody kind to yourself. Not exactly a catchy spell scroll there, but still, the effects are very potent indeed. Because at the end of the day, I just want you to live a healthy and happy life, and you can start doing that by just being kind to yourself. Treat yourself with love and respect, because you bloody well deserve it, alright? Now go out there and absolutely smash it today. I believe in you. And yes, because it is my birthday, I will do the party dance for your entertainment. Yay, I'm old. Yay, I'm bold. Yay, I'm old and bold. Yay, I'm old and bold. That's just making me sad. Right, peace out. See ya.